Hey guys, welcome back. I'm gonna do a video here. This is from TGS Crime Documentaries, and it is the tragic story of George Cornell, the South London gangster. So, I don't know anything about London gangsters or English gangsters. I know the Kray twins here, um, but the extent of that is only from the Tom Hardy movie. Um, I have not yet watched Peaky Blinders. It looks really, really good. I want to. Maybe at some point we'll do that over on Patreon. Um, but I thought this would be kind of interesting. I always like watching mafia stuff and mobster, gangster stuff, and of course I love history, so it kind of goes hand in hand. Um, but this one kind of caught my eye. It looked really interesting. I don't know if he was maybe affiliated with them or if he was on the other side of it. But I guess we're going to find out, right? I will link this video in the description along with a link over to Patreon. If you have not checked it out, go over there, check it out. We're getting a couple new members over there, so you guys are finally wandering over there, which is awesome. And then I'm also going to have a link of how you can support the channel here on YouTube. If you enjoy these videos, consider becoming a member. Get you a lot of extra perks, and it helps me out a lot to continue making these videos. Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this.
During the early 1960s, the Kray twins dominated the East End of London, while their rivals, the Richardson gang, controlled South London. Although they maintained a fragile peace, tensions were rising, leading to an inevitable violent clash. George Cornell, an enforcer for the Richardsons, was among the first casualties. Cornell, known for his violent nature, initially joined the Krays before defecting to the Richardson gang. This switch led to increased hostilities between the two factions. Cornell's murder by Ronnie Kray marked the beginning of a brutal conflict. Born as George Myers on November 13, 1927, in the old boundary of St. George in the east, Stepney, London, he was one of 7 children to unwed parents. During his adolescence, George's father left, and his mother, Mary Ann Garrett, later married Joseph Cornell. Consequently, the siblings changed their surname by deed poll in the 1940s to match their stepfathers. From the age of 12, Cornell worked as a Billingsgate fish porter and later at the nearby docks. There, he ran credit rackets and became acquainted with criminals Lenny Hamilton and Billy Frost. Cornell's first criminal conviction as George Myers was for stealing chickens at 17 in October 1944. In May 1944,
I want to know something funny. My grandmother's dad, so I guess my great grandfather on my dad's side, um, they were part of the Hatfield McCoys. They were McCoys, and they, at least her parents were very, very poor. And I was talking to one of her cousins years and years ago before he passed away, and he was telling me that when my grandmother was born, her dad was actually in jail for stealing a chicken. So I get it, George.
he was charged with garage breaking and larceny after stealing goods. When he came of age, Cornell was called up for national service, which he did with Billy Wiltshire, a cousin of the notorious Kray twins. His first prison sentence came in 1950 when he was convicted at the Central Criminal Court for unlawful wounding and malicious damage. After serving 18 months, Cornell continued his petty criminal career, receiving fines for assault and willful damage in 1952. The next year, he was imprisoned again for breaking into a shop and stealing cigarettes and razor blades. Around the same time, he assaulted 2 police officers and used insulting words and behavior, but was let off with a 40-shilling fine. Cornell, now always known by this name to friends, associates, and rivals, left the East End of London in 1955 after marrying Olive Hudd from the Elephant and Castle. Together, they moved to Masterman House in Camberwell, South London, where he set up his family of 3 children, including a son Billy, in 2 flats. As a result of his lucrative criminal activities, the couple also owned a house in the countryside. Despite being a family man, Cornell continued committing various criminal acts. He served one prison spell for malicious wounding, believed to have slashed a woman's face with a blade. At that time, he was a member of the Watney Street Gang, one of the more notorious gangs in the East End. His last prison sentence was in 1963. The Watney Street Gang mainly consisted of dockers and was based around the Poplar and Shadwell areas south of Whitechapel. Another gang in this area was led by the young Kray twins, well known locally, who had met Cornell during one of his many prison stints. At around 6 feet tall, physically strong, and good with his fists, Cornell was known for being fearless and a skilled, feared fighter. When the Krays expanded their gang, later known as the Firm, Cornell joined as muscle, but was never close friends with either Ronnie or Reggie Kray. By 1964, Cornell had drifted away from the Krays and the Firm, and after moving to South London, became involved with their rivals, the Richardson gang. Based in South London, the Richardson gang was led by brothers Charlie and Eddie Richardson, scrap metal dealers involved in various criminal activities, including narcotics, extortion, money laundering, loan sharking, illegal gambling, smuggling, contract killing, hijacking, racketeering, murder, and torture. Cornell was allegedly heavily involved in drug dealing, particularly with Purple Hearts, Dexies, Uppers, Downers, and cannabis. He also participated in the pornography trade and was possibly linked with Jimmy Humphreys, who later exposed many corrupt police officials, including Commander Ken Drury of the Flying Squad. Due to his fighting skills, Cornell, along with his friends Mad Frankie Fraser and Jimmy Moody, became enforcers for the Richardson gang. They often accompanied the Richardson brothers to meetings with the Krays, frequently held in pubs such as the Grave Maurice. The Richardson gang became notorious for their brutal methods of dealing with suspected traitors and turncoats. Anyone suspected of collaborating with the police or a rival firm was hauled in for questioning. This often involved a mock trial, presided over by Eddie and Charlie, where punishments ranged from beatings to severe torture methods, such as whippings, teeth being pulled with pliers, a favorite of Fraser, cigarette burning, toes being removed with bolt cutters, nailing to the floor, and electric shocks administered until the victim fell unconscious. The electric shocks were inflicted using an old army field telephone, powered by a hand-cranked generator. Electrodes were attached to the victim's nipples or genitalia, and sometimes the victim was placed in a bath of cold water to enhance the electrical charge. Afterward, the bloodied victim was given a clean shirt by Charlie Richardson to return home, as their own shirt was usually covered in blood. It is unclear what role George Cornell played in the torture of suspected transgressors, but as
Well, that sounded awful. Um, the thing about like torture and stuff is like they're anybody's gonna tell you whatever you want to hear to stop being tortured, right? So you can't even trust what they're saying.
an integral member of the Richardson gang, he would have been expected to participate in rooting out traitors and intimidating anyone considering turning against the gang. The Richardsons were later indicted over the torture allegations and served prison sentences. Between 1965 and 1966, a feud developed between the Richardson gang and the Krays firm. This escalated in December 1965 when Cornell called Ronnie Kray a fat poof during a Christmas party at the Astor Club, leading to a fight and a personal vendetta between Ronnie Kray and George Cornell. On March 7, 1966, a gathering of the Richardsons at Mr. Smith's nightclub in Rushy Green, Catford, southeast London, included Eddie Richardson, Mad Frankie Fraser, George Cornell, and other members of the Hayward gang. Dickie Hart, an associate of the Kray firm, was also present. Initially, the atmosphere was convivial as the groups drank together. However, a disagreement eventually erupted, leading to a fight between the two groups. During the altercation, Hart took out a gun and started shooting. While the details were unclear, someone shot Dickie Hart. The police soon rounded up the Richardson gang members, except for Cornell, who was not sought in connection with Hart's shooting. Frankie Fraser was later tried for Hart's murder, but was acquitted. Ray, the Belgian Cullinane, a Richardson member, testified that he saw Cornell kicking Hart. The murder of Richard Hart catalyzed open war between the Richardsons and the Krays, ultimately leading to the Richardson gang's downfall. After learning of the shootout at Mr. Smith's, the Kray twins, especially Ronnie, decided to retaliate against the Richardson gang for the murder of their associate, Richard Hart. With most Richardson members either jailed or hospitalized, Ronnie vowed vengeance. Fortunately for Cornell, he had not been at Mr. Smith's and thus escaped arrest. On March 9, 1966, while Ronnie was drinking with other members of the firm at the Widow's Pub in Tapp Street, he received a phone call informing him that Cornell was at the Blind Beggar in Whitechapel nearby. Ronnie immediately set off to find Cornell, driven by Reggie's driver, Scotch Jack John Dixon, and accompanied by his right-hand man, Ian Barry. On the way, they picked up guns from 178 Valence Road. That day, Cornell and his friend Albie Woods had visited Jimmy Andrews, who was in the hospital after losing his leg in a shooting. On their way back, they stopped for a drink at the Blind Beggar public house on Whitechapel Road, accompanied by another man, Johnny Dale. The three men entered the pub, ordered light ales, and sat on stools by the bar. With Dixon waiting in the getaway car, a Mark I Ford Cortina, Ronnie Kray and Ian Barry entered the pub around 8:30 p.m. They saw Cornell and his friends, along with 5 other customers, including an old man at the end of the bar reading a newspaper and a barmaid washing glasses, who had just put on the pub's record player, which was playing The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore by the Walker Brothers. Upon seeing Ronnie and Barry, Cornell smiled and said sardonically, "Well, just look who's here." Barry fired 2 warning shots into the ceiling, while Ronnie walked towards Cornell, took out a 9mm Luger, and calmly shot him once in the forehead above his right eye. They then left and drove away. An ambulance was called, and Cornell was taken to London Hospital, but was soon transferred to Maida Vale Hospital, specializing in brain injuries. At 10:29 p.m., roughly 2 hours after being shot, Cornell died before any operation could take place. Upon hearing of her husband's death, Cornell's wife, Olive, threw a brick through the window of 178 Valence Road in a fit of rage. News of Cornell's murder quickly spread. The Krays learned about it when Ronnie returned to the Widow Pub and informed his twin brother. As Ronnie cleaned up, a news report confirmed Cornell's death. Ronnie then burned his clothes, and the 9mm Mauser used to shoot Cornell was given to the cat burglar Charlie Clark for disposal. The aftermath of George Cornell's murder. The murder shocked both the public and the criminal underworld. Despite initial arrests, lack of evidence led to Ronnie's release. However, the escalating violence and pressure from authorities eventually led to the downfall of the Krays and the Richardsons. In 1968, the Krays and their associates were arrested. Key members of the firm turned against the twins, providing the needed testimony. In 1969, the Kray twins were sentenced to life imprisonment, with Ronnie convicted for Cornell's murder. He spent the rest of his life in Broadmoor Hospital, dying in 1995. Cornell was buried in Camberwell New Cemetery. Reflecting on the murder, Ronnie Kray expressed a disturbing sense of satisfaction and vividly recalled the event even decades later.
In the UK, deciduous woodlands are one of our
That was really interesting. Was that? Let me go back here.
During the early 1960s, the
Was that actually in the movie? I'm, I'm sure it was because it ended up leading to their downfall, right? Um, Ronnie was like the one that was a little crazier, right? He was gay and he was very impulsive. Is that right? And the other brother was a little bit, I don't want to necessarily say smarter, but he was more calculated. Um, really interesting story. It's wild that like both sides of these gangs, the Richardsons and then obviously the Krays, were ran by brothers. Um, but that was really interesting. I want to. I'm sure, it's been years since I've seen that movie, but I vaguely remember a scene of him, one of the Krays, in a, I want to say, sitting on a bar stool somewhere, and then kind of that happening. Um, yeah, all that's super interesting. If there's any other like gangsters or mob stories, or even like parts of this that you guys want me to look at, let me know because I really find all of this interesting. I've watched so many mobster, gangsters, mafia stuff from like the US as far as like Chicago and New York and all of the different crime families. I've watched all kinds of. They did a couple years ago. I think it was on History Channel too. They did a series that kind of told you the history of like the different how the different crime families. I think there were five of them in New York that came to be, maybe more than that. Um, but with like Lucky Luciano and all that, and how they sort of came to the table together and set forth this code. Um, and it was really, really good. Like they were narrating it, but at the same time, it would have like scenes done, and um, it was really great. Um, but like I say, yeah, I've watched all kinds of documentaries, read stuff on it, but my memory is terrible, so I end up watching kind of the same stuff over and over again, different people that do it, but um yeah, that was super interesting. And like I said, let me know, guys, if there's some other ones that you guys know of that I should look at, because I really, really enjoy it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this as well. If you did, hit the like button, hit subscribe, share, hype the video. I don't think you guys can hype videos if you're watching on TV, but if you're on your phone, if you're on your tablet, I think you should be able to. It's usually kind of in the spot where you would do like share and um download. I think if you click those three dots, it should give you the option to hype, and I think you can hype up to 3 videos a week. Um, yeah, I think that's it, guys. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Most of the viewers are not subscribed. Hit the bell so you can get notifications for the algorithm. And yeah, guys, have an awesome day. Thanks for watching with me.